Ripple just spent billions of dollars. Quietly, carefully, without making headlines. 5 separate companies, 5 separate acquisitions, all completed within the last few months. And when you understand what each one of these companies actually does, and why Ripple specifically chose to buy them, you will understand something about the future of XRP that the price right now at $1.50 does not reflect at all. Because here is the thing that nobody is saying clearly. When a company spends billions of dollars buying other companies, it is not doing that randomly. It is building something. It is assembling pieces of a puzzle. And when you lay all 5 of these acquisitions next to each other and look at them together, the picture they form is extraordinary. And yet, the price of XRP is sitting at $1.50, down 62% from its all-time high, going nowhere. So today I am going to show you the 5 companies Ripple just acquired. I am going to explain in simple language exactly what each one does. I am going to show you why Ripple bought each one specifically. And then I am going to give you my honest assessment of what this means for the XRP token that you are holding right now. Because there are 2 possible conclusions from this story, and they lead to completely opposite outcomes for XRP holders. I am going to show you both, and I am going to let you decide which one you believe. Stay with me. This is going to be worth every minute. Before I show you the 5 acquisitions, I need to give you 30 seconds of context. Because without this context, the acquisitions will not make sense. Ripple the company and XRP the token are 2 separate things. This is the most important distinction in the entire XRP story, and it is the one that most new holders do not fully understand. Ripple is a private company based in San Francisco. It has employees. It has revenue. It has investors. It makes products and sells them to banks and financial institutions. Ripple the company has been valued at $50 billion. XRP is a digital token that lives on the XRP ledger. It was created by Ripple, but it trades independently. Its price is determined by market supply and demand. Ripple the company owns a large amount of XRP, but the token itself is a separate asset. Why does this matter? Because when Ripple makes money and spends money on acquisitions, it does not automatically make XRP go up. The critical question is whether these acquisitions create more demand for the actual XRP token, or whether they just make Ripple the company more valuable without benefiting XRP token holders at all. That question is the heart of this video. Keep it in your mind as I walk you through each acquisition, and at the end I will give you my honest answer. Now, the 5 acquisitions. Acquisition number 1, G Treasury. Let me start with G Treasury because it is the one that most directly affects the kind of customers Ripple is trying to reach. G Treasury is a treasury management software company. What does treasury management mean? It means the software that large corporations use to manage their cash, their foreign currency, their investments, their financial risk. Every major corporation in the world has a treasury department, and treasury departments use specialized software to do their jobs. Treasury software is used by over 500 large enterprises globally. These are not small companies. These are the kind of companies with treasury departments that manage billions of dollars in cash and foreign currency every single day. Why did Ripple buy G Treasury? Think about it from Ripple's perspective. You have a payment technology. You want corporations to use that technology to move money internationally. But to reach those corporations, you need to be inside the software they are already using every day. You need to be embedded in their treasury management workflow. You need to be the option that appears when a CFO logs into their treasury software and needs to make an international payment. By buying G Treasury, Ripple just bought a direct line into the daily financial workflow of over 500 major corporations. These corporations do not need to download a new app. They do not need to sign up for a new service. They just need to click a button inside the software they are already using. And that button will be powered by Ripple. What this means for XRP. If Ripple's payment solution inside G Treasury uses on-demand liquidity, the product that actually uses XRP as a bridge currency, then every international payment made through G Treasury creates real XRP demand. 500 corporations making international payments every day, all potentially using XRP without even knowing it. That is significant. Acquisition number 2, Hidden Road. This is the acquisition that got the most attention inside financial circles. And for good reason. Hidden Road is a prime brokerage firm. Now let me explain what a prime broker is because this term confuses a lot of people. A prime broker is a financial services firm that provides the infrastructure that hedge funds and institutional investors need to operate. When a hedge fund wants to borrow money to make investments, they go to their prime broker. When a hedge fund wants to short sell an asset, they go to their prime broker. When a hedge fund needs custody services to safely hold their assets, they go to their prime broker. Prime brokers are the invisible backbone of the institutional investment world. Every major hedge fund in the world has a prime broker, and Hidden Road is one of them. Hidden Road processes over $3 trillion in transactions annually. $3 trillion. Every single year. Moving through this one company. Why did Ripple buy Hidden Road? Because the biggest obstacle to institutional adoption of XRP right now is infrastructure. Hedge funds and institutional investors do not want to figure out how to buy and hold XRP themselves. They want their existing prime broker to handle it for them. By owning Hidden Road, Ripple can make XRP available as a product within the existing institutional infrastructure that hedge funds already use and trust. Imagine a hedge fund manager whose prime broker is Hidden Road. Previously, that manager had to go outside their normal workflow to get XRP exposure. Now they can get it directly through their prime broker, with the same custody, the same reporting, the same risk management, the same everything they already use. What this means for XRP. Hidden Road processing $3 trillion annually with XRP now embedded in its infrastructure is potentially one of the most significant institutional adoption developments in XRP's history. This is not retail investors buying XRP on their phones. This is hedge funds accessing XRP through their professional prime brokerage infrastructure. Acquisition number 3. Rail. Rail is a payments infrastructure company, and this one is perhaps the most directly relevant to XRP's core use case. Rail built technology that enables real-time payments between financial institutions. Fast, cheap, cross-border. Sound familiar? That is exactly what Ripple's on-demand liquidity product does using XRP. Why did Ripple buy Rail? Because Rail has something Ripple needs. Existing relationships with financial institutions that are already using Rail's payment rails. When Ripple acquires Rail, it does not just get the technology. It gets the customer relationships, the contracts, the integrations, the trust that Rail has already built with banks and financial institutions that have been using its network. Instead of Ripple spending years trying to convince those banks to switch to Ripple's technology, Ripple can now offer those banks an upgraded version of the Rail product they are already using, powered by Ripple, and potentially powered by XRP. What this means for XRP. More banks using a payment rail that is owned by Ripple means more potential pathways for XRP to be used as a settlement asset. Not guaranteed, but the infrastructure is now in place. Acquisition number 4. Palisade. Palisade is a custody and compliance technology company, and this one is critically important for a very specific reason. One of the biggest barriers to institutional adoption of any cryptocurrency is custody. How do you safely store digital assets worth millions or billions of dollars? How do you ensure they cannot be hacked or stolen? How do you comply with all the regulatory requirements for holding digital assets at an institutional level? Palisade built technology that answers all of these questions. It provides institutional-grade custody solutions and compliance tools specifically designed for digital assets. Why did Ripple buy Palisade? Because every institution that wants to hold XRP needs a safe and compliant way to do it. By owning Palisade, Ripple can offer end-to-end service to institutional clients. You want to buy XRP? Ripple can help you buy it through Hidden Road. You want to store it safely? Ripple can provide custody through Palisade. You want to comply with your regulatory requirements? Palisade handles that too. This is called vertical integration. Ripple is building a complete stack of services that covers every single thing an institutional investor needs to hold and use XRP. And by owning that entire stack, Ripple removes every excuse that institutional investors have for not adding XRP to their portfolios. What this means for XRP. Institutional-grade custody removes one of the last major barriers to large-scale institutional XRP adoption. This is a foundational piece of infrastructure that needed to exist before the next wave of institutional buyers could enter. Acquisition number 5. Solvexia. Solvexia is an AI-powered financial automation company. This one is different from the others, and it tells you something very interesting about where Ripple sees the world going. Solvexia uses artificial intelligence to automate complex financial processes, reconciliation, reporting, data analysis, the kind of repetitive and complex financial back-office work that currently requires large teams of people to do manually. Why did Ripple buy Solvexia? Because the future of finance is not just faster payments. It is smarter payments. It is payments that happen automatically, that reconcile themselves, that report themselves, that comply with regulations automatically, and that optimize themselves using AI. By integrating Solvexia's AI capabilities into its payment products, Ripple is building toward a future where international payments are not just fast and cheap, but fully automated and intelligent. A world where a corporation does not need to manually authorize every international transfer, where AI handles the entire process from initiation to settlement to reconciliation. And in that automated world, the settlement asset that the AI chooses to use for cross-border transfers will be the asset that wins. Ripple is positioning XRP to be that asset. What this means for XRP. This is the longest-term play of the 5 acquisitions, but it may be the most important one, because the company that controls the AI layer of global financial automation controls what gets used to settle those automated transactions. Ripple just bought a piece of that future. Now let me step back and look at all 5 acquisitions together. G Treasury, 500 corporations with Ripple embedded in their daily treasury workflow. Hidden Road, $3 trillion of annual institutional transaction flow with XRP accessible through prime brokerage infrastructure. Rail, existing bank relationships with payment rails that Ripple now owns and can upgrade with XRP settlement. Palisade, institutional-grade custody and compliance, removing the last major barrier to large-scale institutional XRP adoption. Solvexia, AI-powered financial automation positioning XRP as the settlement asset of the automated financial future. When you see all 5 together, you see a company that is systematically building the infrastructure for XRP to become the default settlement asset of global institutional finance. Not through marketing, not through hype, through owning the actual infrastructure that global finance runs on. Brad Garlinghouse said this will be a defining year for Ripple. Looking at these 5 acquisitions together, I believe him. But now I have to give you the honest part. The part that the excited XRP community is not talking about clearly enough. All of this is Ripple the company building infrastructure. The critical question is still the same one I raised at the beginning of this video. Does any of this actually create demand for the XRP token? Here is the honest answer. It depends entirely on which Ripple products these acquisitions power. If Treasury's corporate clients use Ripple payments with on-demand liquidity, XRP gets used. If Hidden Road's institutional clients access XRP through their prime brokerage, XRP gets used. If Rails bank clients settle payments using XRP as a bridge currency, XRP gets used. If Palisade's custody infrastructure holds XRP for institutional clients, XRP gets held. If Solvexia's AI automation chooses XRP for settlement, XRP gets used. But if any of these products can be used without touching XRP, if Ripple offers non-XRP alternatives through these acquired companies, then Ripple the company benefits and XRP token holders do not. This is the most important question to watch over the next 6 to 12 months. Not the price, not the chart, not what ChatGPT predicts. The question is simple. Are these acquisitions generating real XRP token demand? Watch the on-demand liquidity volume data. Watch the XRPL transaction counts. Watch whether the XRP ledger activity grows alongside Ripple's corporate growth. Those numbers will tell you everything you need to know about whether these $5 billion in acquisitions are good for your XRP or just good for Ripple shareholders. My honest conclusion. Ripple just made 5 strategic acquisitions that together represent the most comprehensive build out of institutional XRP infrastructure in the asset's history. G Treasury gets XRP into corporate treasury workflows. Hidden Road gets XRP into hedge fund prime brokerage. Rail gets XRP into existing bank payment networks. Palisade removes custody barriers for institutional buyers. And Solvexia positions XRP for the AI automated financial future. The fact that XRP is sitting at $1.50 while all of this is being built is either the greatest opportunity in XRP's history or a warning sign that the market knows something about the XRP token demand question that the community has not fully processed yet? I believe it is the former, but I hold that belief with respect for the uncertainty, because the market is not always wrong when it hesitates. Watch the token demand data, not just the price, and you will know the answer before most people do. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 acquisitions do you think is the most important for XRP holders? Type Treasury if you think the corporate treasury angle is the biggest. Type Hidden Road if you think the prime brokerage and institutional access is the game changer. Type Rail if you think the bank payment network is the most important. Type Palisade if you think custody infrastructure is the key missing piece. And type Solvexia if you believe the AI automation play is the most significant long-term development. Drop your answer in the comments right now. I am reading every single one, and I will reply to as many as I can in the first hour. This is a genuine question, and I genuinely want to know what the community thinks. If this video showed you something about Ripple and XRP that you did not know before today, please subscribe, because this channel covers the real developments, the ones happening quietly behind the scenes while everyone else is watching the price. And those are the developments that matter most. My next video is going to continue this investigation, because there is a growing and very loud debate inside the XRP community right now. The debate is about whether Ripple is secretly working against XRP token holders while making itself rich. Some of the evidence being presented is genuinely disturbing, and I am going to cover every side of it with complete honesty. Subscribe so you are ready when it drops. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.